What's good, everybody? It is 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening, so you know what time it is. Me and Funky Buck, here to talk to y'all about Buckeye football, obviously, and escaping the mighty Nebraska Cornhuskers on yesterday. Got a lot to say, a lot to talk about, a lot to kind of sift through and consider as we, get ready for the Penn State Nittany Lions at their crib in a few days. So, what's up, Funky man? How you been? How was your week, and how was your weekend?
What's up, B Moses? My weekend's been great so far. One thing I've learned watching college football, just sometimes you gotta get the win. And I was watching that game, and I was texting B Moses, texting Nevada, texting Kirk, and all we can think about is let's just win this game, just win, just win. And the Buckeyes did it. We came back or come back to the fourth quarter, and we got the win. So at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to take a step back and change your goals for that single game and just win. And we did that, and the Buckeyes survive another day. And it doesn't hurt that the Browns somehow won today. So
Yeah.
that helped the mood out a little bit, even though that's a whole nother story. But hey, Jameis Winston got us a W, so can't be too mad today. It's a good day. Michigan looked horrible again yesterday. Little bit of a sad game, and I really think Michigan State should have won that. They should have been up 2 scores like multiple times throughout that game. Just couldn't do it. Just younger team happens. But oh well. Now on to the next, and excited for the Penn State game this week, where the Buckeyes, even though everyone thinks we're going to lose, we open up as 4-point favorites over Penn State. So all those
Yeah.
all those naysayers, if you really think Ohio State sucks and Penn State's so much better, then bet on Penn State because you can get them at close to 200 plus 200 right now. So you could get a chance to really triple your money back on a return there real quick. So that's what I'll start with, but I'll throw to you, B Moses, since I know you have a lot to say.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, Buckeye fans who want to bet on Penn State. Go ahead, free money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do your thing. but um, but yeah, I see the comments about Sparty, and that was definitely disappointing. They started off hot, they started off dominant, and they started Spartying. Sparty started Spartying, and it's just like it's like boy. And Childs, I think he has talent, but once again, I mean, that was the thing. If my whole thing was if Childs can just chill out on the turnovers, and not just the turnovers, but the boneheaded decisions, they can win that game. And there was some things I saw that was just like, what are you doing? But Michigan State's running back, I can't hit both their backs, but mainly the other kid who did not transfer. I think they both transferred, but their back had a really good game. They just couldn't help but piss down their leg like they do, man. And this, Scum gets the win and over little brother and all that other stuff. And my 5 game losing streak for Scum was not fulfilled. Thanks, Sparty. But it's
But
cool. They got Oregon next week, and then they got Indiana, right, Funk?
yeah, I mean, but even though Michigan won, they still lost. You saw the end of that game, B Moses. What an
Yeah.
embarrassment thing for Michigan players. Mullings needs to be suspended. He should be suspended immediately because you saw the end of the game scramble. I mean, he was stomping on like a Michigan State staff member or player during that, and it was bad enough where it took where the whole Michigan team and multiple staff members are trying to pull him off. And if you look at the face of those
Yeah.
Michigan players, they saw what happened. That looked horrible. That was hard for me to even watch a little bit. So, I mean, the typical Michigan actions, we'll see what they do. Probably nothing because that's what Michigan does. They don't do anything about their issues. You can see that throughout the whole program football, hockey, basketball. They literally let a head coach on their basketball team punch multiple other coaches. That happened multiple times, and and they finally fired him off poor performance. But they didn't even do anything about him. So, oh well.
Yeah.
That's even when they win, they lose. A typical scum behavior. So,
Yeah. I'm not gonna. To your point, I'm not gonna hold my breath over something actually happening, discipline
of
wise.
course not. Yeah.
And somebody, Miss Chaz, CT2 said Mulling stomped a medical assistant. That I did not know. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard nothing since. Let's see if something comes out, like a statement comes out tomorrow. I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Yeah.
Like I said, because it's par for the course. But yep, poor Sparty. You know, not too much of a big deal from my standpoint, other than just wanting to see them lose, you know, as we always do every year. But Sparty blew it, man. They started out really good and just couldn't finish. So what's up, Bucks Forever 65? What's up, everybody in the chat? Appreciate y'all. You know, yesterday we gonna go ahead and get into the game, man. And because yeah, we have a lot to say, a lot to consider, a lot to point out. We got the super chats coming in already. I appreciate y'all as always. We will get to them you know, momentarily. But today feels like we lost yesterday. Like looking at the fan base, you know, social media, and you would think we lost the game. That's how it feels. So me as a content creator and just a fan, me personally, I'm kind of in a place where I'm frustrated with not just I'm frustrated with what I saw yesterday on the field with some things, but I'm also frustrated with our fan base. I'm just frustrated all around. So I'm going to kind of lay out how I'm feeling as a fan and as a content creator, because I feel like I have a responsibility to not be the run out of mill fan who's just reacting emotionally without, you know, stepping back and trying to analyze things, consider things, research things, you know, and just, you know, make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about before I just spew stuff. And I can kind of see our fan base is on edge right now. We're on edge. And I think a part of that, and I want you to jump in and tell me what you think about this. This is just what I'm observing. If you think about it, these past few years, the losses to Scum, although in hindsight, we know that they've been cheating. If y'all don't know that, get to know. Watch this show. Go on Buckeye Scoop. Not only that, go type in NCAA NOA. Go do your research. This is not some conspiracy theory from butthurt Buckeye fans. It's a confirmed fact. They've been cheating. So, and they are going to get popped. The NCAA investigation is still ongoing. I don't like to assume everybody knows what's going on because they don't. But it's a thing. It's real. So we know they've been cheating the past 3 years. But even with that said, it's still a loss on the record right now. So we've lost to Michigan for 3 straight years, you know, on paper, you know, after beating them 20 straight years. You know, the close loss to Georgia, you know, the coming up short in big games, you know, the stats that get trotted out there every 5 minutes about Ryan Day's record against top 5 teams, all of that. So the fan base is on edge. So anything that happens, in my opinion, is just blown out of proportion. Even if it is legitimately bad, it's even worse than it you know, maybe really is, and whatever. So, you know, it's just scrolling through my timeline. It's just doomsday take after doomsday take after doomsday take. And, you know, cats want the coaches to be fired right now, to rip the Band-Aid off and fire Day right now. Right now. Don't wait. Do it right now. And, you know, other goofy notions. So I'm saying all this to say that on one hand, I understand the frustration from the fan base of the past few years and the coming up short and to losing to Michigan on paper. And it's just like the unluckiness that we've kind of had as well in some aspects. And so the fan base, Buckeye fans, I feel like, in my opinion, I'm a part of y'all. So when I say this is not an attack. I feel like there's an insecurity there. I feel like we have rabbit ears with the media. I feel like, you know, anything that's said, you know, we're soft, the $20 million roster. It's like we have these expectations in our mind, and it's okay to have expectations and standards, but I feel like it gets conflated with things that aren't reality. So I feel like we have to step back sometimes and acknowledge, yes, things need to be fixed. We're frustrated, and rightly so, at these things. However, we're not in this dream world where the 2014 team beat everybody 59-0, and other teams who've won ships have had no flaws, no issues, no struggles, no Nebraska type games at all. That's not reality. That's not true. And we're going to point that out to you in a little bit. But I'm saying that to say I get both sides, but I'm still frustrated with the low IQ fans who don't do research, who don't consider anything realistic. They just fire away with just the most negative, ridiculous takes out there. And I get frustrated with that, but I'm also frustrated with what I saw in the field as well. And we're going to talk about that. I just wanted to set the table with that and just share with y'all my thoughts, because I just been like, I've been frustrated in that way the past couple of days, the past 48 hours or 24 hours for real. And so we're going to get into the game more specifically, but I just wanted to show you my thoughts as a fan and as a content creator. You want to jump in, Funk?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like a bunch of insecurity, though. Feels like we're insecure as fans, being Ohio State fans. Can we think everything's been so bad the last couple of years because we've been losing the Michigan, which I know is unacceptable and cannot really happen and won't happen for that 3 year stint, even though they're a proven multi-year cheating scandal that happened right during those 3 years. It just or that pending NCAA investigation. But if you really look at back during the Ryan Day era, we're probably the second best college football team in the Ryan Day area or Ryan Day era. You probably Georgia, you'll probably put ahead of us, but even Georgia in 2019 was pretty pitiful, and Georgia in 2020 was not very good either. But the two natties. But if you overall you take in the Ryan Day era, you probably only put Georgia ahead of us. You definitely don't want to be Alabama at this point. Michigan, you definitely don't want to be. You see them this year. You see them in 2019. You saw what they were in 2020. You for sure don't want to be them. And at that point, I don't really know who else I would pick. So as sad as we can be and as insecure we can be over the last couple of years during the Ryan Day era, sorry, I keep mispronouncing that. But we've been a top 2 team in all of college football. So if that's unacceptable, then I don't even know what to say. And this is the first game we've had like this in the Ryan Day period at Ohio State. Because last time I could really remember a game feeling like this was 2018 Maryland. And I remember thinking after that game, I was going to the Michigan game the next week, and all I can think about is, wow, we might lose to Michigan this year. Yeah. But hey, we saw that we played our best game of football the week after our worst game. So it could happen like that. When fans say, oh, we can't make changes like that in a week, or it takes longer, this is a bigger issue, this takes years to fix. No, it could happen. It could change within the week. But the things that we need to change as Buckeye fans is our attitude, not just online, but at the games. Because honestly, the environment yesterday, just watching online, seemed pretty pitiful until we got one horrible call. That targeting call, we can talk about it later or whatever. That was horrible. We all know that. And Buckeye fans did their thing, threw the water bottles on the field, and hey, ended up getting a call in our favor play after that. So a play after that, and then our Buckeyes made a big stand. But that's what it took to get the shoe rocking. But besides for that, B. Moses, the shoe was quiet. What a disappointing environment. Like we have 100,000 plus fans there, and it didn't seem like they really cared. It was kind of disappointing to see, honestly. I hate saying that, but someone needs to tell our fans that. Get your butts off the seat. This is not wine and dine. Like, let's cheer on our Buckeyes. But I feel like just our insecurities from the last couple of years and just like our notion, it just is reacting and affecting our in-game home stadium atmosphere. And it shouldn't. I mean, I imagine some of the shoe is always quiet. I mean, it's really not. I've been to the shoe before. It's been loud for a lot of games. But hey, I mean, recently it's not been like that. Or recently it's been like that. But hey, we have some big home games coming up. So this is me, Funky Buck, calling out the fans in this shoe that are going to be there in the Indiana game, even though we all think we're going to lose to Indiana now. And who are going to be there for the Michigan game. And I'll be there for the Michigan game. And my butt will be off my seat yelling every single play. So let's get out there and have a good environment. So that's what I have to say, B. Moses.
I feel you, brother. And I want to quickly as possible address this stadium thing, because it's one of it bothers me because I kind of, to me, it's I've been to plenty of games at the shoe. All right. I will agree with y'all that a noon game against a Marshall or a Bowling Green is usually dead unless, we do something like pick six or a touchdown or something. But for big games, the shoe gets popping, even at noon. If it's like Penn State or a big noon game, to me, even in some of those games, there's just some inconsistency. It's not going to be as raucous and consistent as maybe an Autzen or maybe a Penn State. I'm not even going to act like it is. However, I do think our stadium gets knocked a little too much. It's like a broad brush, like they're just absolutely trash all the time. That's not the case. I've been to some games where it has been loud, like deafening loud. And in this game, it's just funny listening to some mixed reviews. I heard, I actually, just one quick story. I met a couple Nebraska fans down at the Arena District yesterday after the game. You know, that's where the Blue Jackets play, Nationwide Arena area. Very nice family. And I went up to them, showed them love, told them, hey, you know, you guys gave us a scare. Very respectful. And one thing they mentioned is that how loud it got at certain times in the shoe. That was their first time there. And then also, as a side note, one of the dudes, the first thing he said to me was like, please tell me you guys are not going to fire Ryan Day. Are you crazy? Look at his record, etc. Whatever. But Matt Rule, he had a quote yesterday. He said, when you're on the road in this environment with the noise and all the things that are happening, credit to the Ohio State fans. What a great environment. So, you know, I guess it depends on where you're sitting sometimes as well. There's some sections in the stadium that don't get as cracking as the others. That's a fact for those who go to the stadium. So I think, and even on TV, it sounded very loud at times. We just need to be more consistent. I think with Ross Bjork making some changes, like he said he's going to do with the atmosphere to kind of encourage that, I think that'll help to bring more consistency. But I think our stadium is a little better with loudness at times than some fans give us credit. I just think it lacks consistency in the big games, although I've been to some games where it was like crazy loud. But that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, B. Moses. I've been to some Penn State, Ohio State games. I've been to a lot of Michigan, Ohio State games. I know the shoe gets rocking, but just seeing it, like, there's no reason. I mean, it's Nebraska. Like, I mean, it's a Big Ten team. Like, that we need to be ready for, like, from the gun. The shoe did not get rocking until the fourth quarter when we started losing, and it was first boos. It was boos and then cheers. But it should be we should be cheering our team, and before we like start booing them off the sideline. That was just that we like that just spoiled. That just spoiled. Let's win this game.
Yes.
Like, focus on the things, fans. Like, come on. Like,
yes. So to that point, let's get into the game, and then I'm going to point some things out about the rest of the country, the rest of the top five, because again, I think we as fans need to have. I don't care if y'all don't like it or not. There still needs to be some perspective fed to you because it's just reality. It helps to balance things because some fans, I know fans are short for fanatic, but look, man, we can't just be wallowing in delusional land to where you're just so far negative that you have no perspective, you know, and just won't acknowledge any of the positives. So anyway, with that said, with the game yesterday. So you said spoiled. Now, I think our fans, we're all guilty of this. We came into this game and, you know, look, I know better than this, but even I got caught up at least momentarily in the notion that because Indiana blew them out, we should blow them out too. Although before the Indiana game, Nebraska looked solid. They looked solid defensively. They looked like a good team, like a respectable team.
The best Nebraska team in like the last that I could remember. Actually, really, I'm kind of young, but that I could remember.
Yes, a very competent Nebraska team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not a team we should lose to, but a competent Nebraska team. Indiana, you know, and I think a lot of our fans are kind of in a pissing match, for lack of better terms, with Indiana, you know, like scared of Indiana, and we're not as good as Indiana. We haven't looked as good as them, and they did this, and I'm concerned, and we should blow them out. I probably got sucked into that a little bit, thinking, hey, you know, this should be a comfortable win, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have been, because I do think we're 3 or more touchdowns better than this team if we play better. But we came into that game, I think, as a fan base in the stadium, to the point about the noise. And kind of, you know, we get spoiled. It's like, okay, you know, let's just go see this blowout, whatever. This ain't a really big game. So I think that was a part of it. But getting to the on-field play. So obviously we went up 14-3. We, you know, we scored relatively easily when we did score. But one of the main highlights that we're all talking about is the O-line, mainly Zen Mikowski, the left tackle. I wasn't as concerned going into this game about Mikowski being as bad as he was, because why? Using facts and using logic. What's the facts? The facts is when he came in against Oregon, he wasn't that noticeable. right? Nobody was like, oh, he was trash against Oregon when he came in for Josh Simmons. Nobody said that. So you're thinking, okay, cool. That's a good sign. Then the 2 weeks of practice, you heard he was holding up well, which I believe he was. But that's a different story when you know, as compared to going into a game where you're being watched by millions in front of 100,000, and you know, you get nervous and you get jitters and the bullets are flying and you're seeing stuff maybe you didn't see in practice exactly. And now, you know, you start feeling that anxiety and you're not playing well. You're missing assignments. You're getting tossed to the side. So Mikowski's play, I think, was a little surprising that he played that bad. Now, I want y'all to do something for me in the chat, but as I continue, say yes or no to this question. Do you go back and watch the games and maybe take a few notes and just kind of like look at plays? Yes or no in the chat. Please tell me that. Do you do that? Be honest. Okay, question. I'm going to look in the chat in a second. With that said, I went back and watched the game. Just like always, I believe my brother Corey, Scarlet and the Great Corey, we talked earlier. He mentioned the quote from Mike McCarthy, who said, "It's never as good as it is, and it's never as bad as it is." Yesterday was bad, okay, for the O-line. I'm not sugarcoating that. However, the feeling that you have during the game, the anxiety, the emotion, the saltiness, the fear of potentially losing, the whatever, your expectations being crashed. That feeling you feel during the game is going to make things feel much worse than they are, as opposed to going back and rewatching the game. If you blow a team out 63-10, the excitement, we about to kill it, we about to win out and just destroy everybody. It's the same opposite effect that you feel during the game from a positive standpoint that makes you think, oh, there's no way we can struggle against this team coming up next week. You see what I'm saying? It happens on both ends of the spectrum. So I'm saying that to say, when you go back and rewatch the game, it's never as good as it is and never as bad as it is, unless it's Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, 59-0. That's an anomaly, but you get my point. So what I'm saying is this: I watched the game. McCaskey, he struggled, but he started to get his footing for like 2.5 straight drives where we scored. And I was thinking he's turning the corner. Like that was great. Like great technique. He gave Howard time. That was good run blocking. But then he reverted back and started getting destroyed again. And so he did some good things when I went back and watched throughout the game. But obviously you had the splash plays where he was just awful. So with that said, it may be a moot point as far as concerned about him, because he could barely put pressure on his leg coming out of the game when he got hurt. I don't think he's going to play next week.
He won't.
Now, some could say that's maybe a blessing in disguise, because you bring a more experienced offensive lineman in Donovan Jackson to slide into left tackle, and then Luke Montgomery into guard. And maybe with the week of practice, you know, things can get short up a little bit. But nobody expected McCaskey to be that bad based off the points I just made. I can go on, but I want you to jump in because I don't want to completely dominate. I have a lot to say. Please jump in.
I mean, the mood point, this is from hearing inside of Ohio State. Zen looked good in practice the last 2 weeks. So this was all
right.
The Ohio State staff trusted him, and their trust was obviously put in the wrong player. That was clearly he clearly wasn't ready for this moment. But I also think it was a lot about Nebraska playing very, very, very well. If you look back at these early Nebraska games, that Nebraska-Colorado game, they kicked the crap out of Colorado. And looking back at it, that Colorado team's a good team, but that Nebraska D-line was insane, and they're crazy. So I can say this: Nebraska D-line isn't a really above-average team, or above-average D-line.
They're solid.
Yeah, they're good. And especially after you just get your ass kicked the next week, B. Moses. Like, you know this. You play sports. We all play sports. We watch sports. When your team gets their ass kicked, they come back the next week always looking better. Always, always, always looking better. So they're playing pretty much they played their best game of the year. You saw after the game, it was like they won the Super Bowl. I'm glad my guys played this well. Like, they played great. Like, what a fantastic game, the best game of the season, and they still lost. So if that doesn't tell us how good they think Ohio State is, that they played their best game and that they did pretty much all they could do and they still didn't get it done, then that should give like us some positive feedback, if that is making sense. But
Yeah.
so, and all we can do for this next week is want change. And that's up to the Buckeye staff. We got the talent. We know we have the talent. We have Carson Hintzman, who hasn't played like a game this whole season when he was a pretty solid as a redshirt freshman last year. So, I mean, I hope they do is plug him at left guard and kick out and kick out Donnie Jackson at left tackle, and then give our left side of the offensive line some help, rolling tight ends, rolling running backs. But we're not the first team ever to have left tackle issues.
Yeah.
And there's teams win the national championship, teams win the Super Bowl all the time with tackle issues, with an injury on the O-line. 99% of teams in college football can't take an injury to their star tackles. They just can't. Not Georgia, not Texas, not Alabama. They can't. If their best tackle gets injured, that's going to be a glaring issue. You saw the Super Bowl in where 2020, and where both Chiefs tackles were injured, and they just got lit up. They got destroyed. It happens all the time. So that's just a coaching thing, and we got to be able to fix it. And that's up to the coaches. That's up to Fry. That's up to Day. That's up to Chip Kelly. The scheme them good. We have a week not a week. We've been trying to fix it, but we have a week really to hone it in for the Penn State game and play our best game versus Penn State. Because I don't really know what we're going to do. I'm not really fully sure, but all I know is that these coaches know there's an issue, and these guys are going to be ready. No one in Ohio State right now is leaning back or picking cherries off the tree, eating grapes. It's like they're all ready and they want to beat Penn State. And I really think they're going to play the best game versus Penn State, because it took them sometimes getting embarrassed, because they got really embarrassed. They did not get embarrassed versus Oregon. That was bad. They obviously want the win. That was pretty heartbreaking, but it wasn't embarrassing. This was embarrassing. This was the embarrassment game. So we'll see how we bounce back versus Penn State. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe our offensive line looks just as bad as it did versus Nebraska. But I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to look way, way better versus Penn State, even though Penn State's defensive line is much better. But you know what's also a huge issue for Penn State? Their injuries. They lost their right tackle. He's out probably for the game. They lost their starting defensive end. Could be out. And Drew Aller. And Aller went down with a knee injury. So we'll see. He'll probably be fine. But still, a knee injury, like lingering, you see what happens with quarterbacks when they get injured. They are less willing to run. They're less willing that. They're a little more hesitant. So they have their own issues. And if I'm sitting here and I was an Ohio State fan, I'm super happy that I'm an Ohio State fan right now going into this week compared to being a Penn State fan, because they have their own issues. We just don't know about it because we're not so obsessive about it. And no one is, because Penn State, no one gives a crap about Penn State. That's the thing. No one outside of Penn State gives a crap about Penn State. So that's why everyone's just freaking out on Ohio State. But if you just take a step back and look at the odds, look at the Vegas odds, look at who does Vegas think is going to win, then you can relax and be like, oh, wow, we're chilling. Because the line was 3.5 and now it moved to 4. So clearly Vegas still thinks we are in a good chance to win this game. And that's what I'll take. Could Penn State beat us? For sure. But I think we're still going to win. So, and Vegas agrees with me. So that's all I'll finish off with. We're chilling. Yeah. We're fine. We're good.
Man, listen, y'all, I wish this show was longer, because I got so much to say, and I'm up here thinking to myself, how much time do I have to hit on these things? And I know I'm wasting time right now talking. I'm just frustrated because I got so much to say. So look, all right. People say, what can we do? All right, what can we do? First of all, I think before I get into that, I think a part of the issue yesterday was we were playing with our food. This is my opinion based off of watching and rewatching and seeing what we were doing. And I'm going to tell you why. I think we came into this game, and y'all can criticize it, and rightly so. I feel like we felt we were better than Nebraska, and we are. I feel like the team felt we should be able to do some things to work on getting Mikowski, his legs under him, run the ball in some ways, run the ball. We should be able to run the ball up the middle. And basically not really in the bag deep with play calling with certain things. I see people in the chat, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Yeah, I agree. There were certain things we could have done and we did do later in the game that we could have done throughout the game that we didn't do. So I think we were playing with our food a little bit. and thinking like we've been doing with lesser teams all year. Okay, let's do this, let's try this, and then we know we're going to pull away later. And I think it came back to burn us later to where we actually were in a game. And I'm saying that because that last drive after we went down, what was it, 17-14?
Yep.
After we went down, we went right down the field and scored. We started running plays I didn't see early in the game. We started moving the ball. We even blocked better. Zim Mikowski actually was holding up on that drive. He wasn't bad on that drive. And we went right down and scored. And so to me, that just kind of reinforced what I was thinking is like, we got to stop playing around. And yes, a little bit of the element of looking ahead is always there to Penn State. So I'm happy that we didn't pull at Alabama and lose that game to a Vanderbilt or another team who we know over the past few years has lost to a team like that. Our defense, and I'm going to talk about our defense. Our defense was not perfect. There was a couple of drives where they were just leaky and just bad on the drives, not overall. But they held Nebraska to field goals repeatedly. They had a big goal line stand. When we needed them to step up, they did. We brought more pressure. We got beat a few times when we blitz because that's the give and take. When you blitz more, especially if it's a run blitz and you don't get home and you don't fill those gaps, they'll get out the gate. And they did a few times. It didn't kill us, but there was some give or take. But we got home. We got more pressure. The defense stepped up when we really needed them in big moments. Kudos to the defense because they got put in bad spots repeatedly by our offense, especially that when Will threw the pick and they ran it back to like the 10-yard line. So kudos to our defense, respect to them. They bounced back from that Oregon game, even though I feel like there was just a few plays in that Oregon game that really kind of brought the performance down, but that's neither here nor there. So real quick, what can we do? Because I know we're at, time is ticking. What can we do? First of all, a full week of solidifying who the lineup's going to be. Get our best five out there. If it's Donovan Jackson at left tackle, Montgomery at left guard, and Shabola also has been a little injured. He has not been healthy. Saravel, the right guard, was struggling too. It was not just Mikowski. He was getting beat up bad too and getting beat, Saravel. So we need to solidify the best five, get a strong week of practice with a game plan that can cater to their strengths. We can roll out Will Howard. This is what we can do. We can occasionally, not every time it be predictable, we can roll Will Howard out to the right, giving him the option to run or pass, okay? Not every time because it takes away the other side of the field. I get that. We can obviously get in some heavy looks, bring a tight end over, which we started to do later in the game to help, run on that left side or at least pass protect and give Will time. All he needs is 2.5, 3 seconds to get the ball out, if not less. We can do that. We can run some option to where, that gives some constraint to the defense and just doesn't allow them to tee off. We can do some things schematically to help this O-line out. Penn State is a good team, but they're not infallible, y'all. Look at your boy PSU Jim in the chat. He sounds like a good fan because he knows Penn State is a good team. They have some talent. They're at home. We got to be ready to play, but they're not infallible, okay? They've struggled this year. They have not looked overly impressive, and they're the number 3 team in the country. We need to have a good week of practice with our best 5 linemen. The coaches need to coach better. Chip Kelly needs his play calling has to be much better this week, and we can beat this Penn State team. That's where I'm at. So my hope is not lost because it's not that we don't have things that we don't need to improve on, but I'm also looking at the opponent and the landscape and just everything we have at our disposal. So I'm just going to say that for now. Funk, jump in, and we can go into the comparisons of the other teams in the top 5 for perspective if we can get to it. But I wanted to just quickly lay that out. I got so much more to say, y'all, but it's we up against it, man. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're clearly right there. You gotta trust. I'm just have to trust the coaches on this one. You have to scheme better. We have to run. Are we just gonna whatever? I'm not a football genius. I won't claim to be one. I just know in this sense, when you have a player injured and maybe your one side's weaker, the coaches know that. The coaches got a scheme for it. You're not going to see Chip Kelly he's not going to put all his trust onto that left side of the offensive line anymore. He's going to have to give them help. He knows that. So, and that's going to be the game plan for this week is try to work around it, try to scheme better. And I trust that. Chip Kelly's done this before. You think this is the worst offensive line Chip Kelly's ever coached? Like, absolutely not. He's dealt with 10 times worse. So he's one of the smartest minds in football. So I've all trusted him. That's why I'm not horribly worried in this sense. And no, I mean, not the crap on PSU Jim, but you didn't just have one at Bowling Green. You got to remember, Penn State had one at Bowling Green. Then they had a miracle comeback versus USC, which went to overtime. They beat USC, which was a fine win, but it's still a miracle comeback versus a not very good USC team. And then obviously yesterday they were leading by 1 point going into the fourth quarter. So if PSU knows they're not invincible, their fans know they're not invincible, but they're just not outwardly saying it like all the Ohio State fans are, because in reality, yeah, people just care about Ohio State a lot, not just our fans, but everyone. So just a loop of negativity. Everyone has their struggles. So we just got to have our best game this weekend versus Penn State. And I was looking through the box score right here for the Nebraska game, and I remember watching it live and really being mad about it and being a huge swing. The biggest swing in the game was it's 3-14. We have a chip shot field goal to make, and we miss it. And then we let Penn State drive where
That was tough.
Like where 40 yards or whatever it was and hit a 54, 55 yarder. That was a big swing in the game, because that game goes from being 3-17, and that's really out of reach at that point. Like, I mean, seriously, I mean, we saw the final score. They only scored 17 points. So at that point, if you score 17, you're up 17-3. That's pretty much over. But instead, we missed the field goal, giving Nebraska good field position, and then they kick a 54-yarder. So instead of being a 3-17 game, it's a 6-14 game. And you could have sworn, you would have thought they were winning and they're about to win the game at halftime. That positive energy they felt and the negative energy from the crowd was like, I could feel it through the screen. It was like, wow, what are we watching? Like this, it felt like we finally gave them some hope. And that's what they took into the second half. So I really believe if we make that field goal, then the game is never this close. I think we would have blown them out. Like, I think we would have won by 20 plus, but that's not what happened. So. And that's a whole nother issue. Like the kicking issue is a thing. That's an issue that I will never understand how we have that issue at Ohio State. It doesn't make any sense, but it's an issue. So let's hope this game doesn't come down to a field goal, and let's hope we're good enough to beat Penn State without a kicker, because in reality, we don't have one, B. Moses. So that's my biggest worry. I don't trust them, and I will not trust them. So yeah.
I hear you. And on a positive note, let's run down some players who played well. First of all, Will Howard before the pick was, I think, 10 for 10.
Yep,
I mean,
10 for 10.
Again, he played very well overall. He has not been perfect, but he looked good. He played well. Carnell Tate looked really good. Carnell Tate, especially being out with injuries, seeing him come back looking like he's been looking has been great. Arvell Reese being ejected for that bogus targeting call. And I'll spend just a little bit of time on that, because we all know it was trash. The rule is trash. If that's the letter of the law, then it's just a trash rule. What are you supposed to, when I play football, I play safety. I can't imagine, what am I supposed to do on that play? When you go back and watch the replay, he didn't lead with his head. He didn't lead with his shoulder. His forearm was in front. And he hit him and jarred the ball loose. What else is a defender supposed to do in that situation? Because if he doesn't go and try to hit him, maybe he breaks the tackle. You know what I'm saying? It was just a horrendous call, and I understand Day going off as he should. It was just stupid, but whatever. We won, but I just wanted to say that real quick, because I just can't stand the referee and the referee. Oh yeah, real quick. The refs were garbage. They were garbage towards Nebraska. Nebraska had a first down ending the end of the first half. That was a clear first down. Buckeye fan here. I don't care if it is what it is. It's whatever. That was a first down, and the clock ran down. Nebraska got screwed on that. That was not an offensive pass interference on Nebraska. It was a no call. There was no interference. I agree with Klatt. There was no infraction on that play. Another bad call, and then of course the phantom targeting. It was just refereeing this season has been abysmal across the board. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
And also this is gonna rile up me. That call riles me up, because this one I'm gonna say is gonna piss off everyone. Rewatch that Marvin Harrison targeting call versus Georgia. That was 1,000 times worse than what this was. 1,000 times. That was horrible. That was an actual dangerous play that should have been called targeting. That is targeting. That was similar-ish to this hit, but not even, in my perspective, it was similar-ish, but way, way, way worse. And that's not me being biased. Watch the play. That was 100% horrible, and that would have won us a game and won us a national championship. So our luck with targeting calls is like, I've never seen it like it. I'm almost laughing. I knew when they threw that flag, I was like, oh, this is targeting, and I know it's not going to be called again. We're just going to be unlucky. We've been the worst. We've been the most unlucky team with targeting calls that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. The only good one I could ever imagine called for us was that one on Justin Fields during the second semifinal game versus Clemson, or the third one at that reason, where he got the helmet to the chest and like broke his ribs or whatever. And when we end up kicking the crap out of them, but that was the one call that I think went our way that I can even remember. The other like targeting calls, they've gone against us every single time, and it's horrible. But let's be positive. Let's change the thing. Carnell Tate and JJ Smith, they're here, and they're here for not just this year, but next year. Because they can't leave. So blessing to have. Carnell Tate, this is a showing out party. He looked, I mean, fabulous. Like what he looks like. People been like, oh, where's Carnell or whatever. He just buried on the depth chart. It happens. When you have JJ Smith and Emeka and Marvin Harrison ahead of you, that's going to happen. But he really showed out yesterday. He looked amazing. He's always been a great blocker, but he was great blocking again yesterday, and even better pass catching. And then again, JJ Smith, I mean, that big touchdown pass really opened up the game. But he does it again. He's just a true demigod. But I mean, yeah, I'll be positive there. I might even go to the negatives, but that was great. Will Howard, besides that, he after that pick, he looked pretty scuffled, and looks like either him was playing worse or the play calling just turned to the deep end. But towards the end of that game, in that final drive, or the second, final touchdown drive he looked perfect, looked amazing. And in the first half, I think he looked great. The 2 early 3 and outs was kind of unlucky, but that just happens sometimes. But in general, there's a lot more positives I can take away from Will Howard that game than negatives. Definitely. And seeing Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith play that well was great. So yeah, that was great. And at the end of the day, we got the win, B Moses. So we got the win. Go Bucks.
That's one thing we cannot forget. We won the game. Like I said, it's cool to be upset and be mad, but you can't ignore the facts that some of these teams in the top 5, top 10 actually lost these type of games.
Yeah.
We didn't lose the game. That doesn't excuse the performance, but our guys stepped up when we needed them to step up to secure the win, which at the end of the day is what really matters. You just pack it back up and get ready for next week. So real quick, as I get into super chats, I have not forgot about y'all, and I want to hit on some comparisons to the country, is that I want to say, I think Will Howard's deep ball looked good yesterday. Did it not? Right? The guy didn't have to turn around and stop. The 2 touchdown passes were, I think, kind of answered some questions on his lack of deep ball ability, in my opinion. Mickey, as always, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the 1999. Let me see. Okay, John Musselman became a new YouTube member. All right. Appreciate you. And then here's the super chat. What is your opinion of having 6 down linemen to block or running more RPO, slow down the ends for Penn State? Yes. I mean, listen, we need to employ everything at our disposal after watching the film for Penn State. They got a good front. What's your boy's name? That's the NFL guy. His name escapes me. They're in. He's really good. It'll come to me. Abdul Carter. Yes, Abdul Carter. They need to Chip Kelly. This is what we brought him here for. We need to scheme them up, and we need to employ every constraint play we have, everything to keep them basically from just pinning their ears back without having to pay for being aggressive. So yes, all of that, bro. RPO, screens, anything that will make them play honest on defense. I'm all for it, bro. Flat out. So yes. Anything real quick you want to say as I move on to the other chats?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're saying. That we need the coaches are going to do something, and they know this. They're not dumb. These coaches aren't. They're not, like it or not. You can hate them or whatever. They're not dumb. They know they're not going to They're not going to sit back there and let the Abdul Carter go one-on-one with our whoever plays left tackle or really wherever on the field. He's no matter who's on left tackle, unless it's or Paris Johnson or God forbid Josh Simmons from the grave or Kirk Barton, then we're not letting him go one-on-one with Abdul Carter. He's a star. He's a first-round pick. He's an NFL player. So, and our coaches know that. And you're right. We're going to do a bunch of RPOs. We're going to do a lot of quick things to get Will Howard early in the game and delay that pass rush, screen passes, which I know Nevada loves, and just a bunch of little stuff like that that get the ball out quicker, delayed runs, outside runs, or whatever. Yeah. All this stuff Chip Kelly's been doing. And we know that's why he got here. Do you think the offense, before our offensive line was the best offensive line in the country before this game?
Simmons went down. We were playing
before Simmons went down. We were the best offensive line in the country. And you think that was just because of the talent in our offense, or like just because the players in our offensive line? No. It was our players are always talented. A lot of teams have talented players. It was the coaching. It was Chip Kelly. It was Ryan Day. It was Justin Fry. They were doing a masterful job. But when you lose a centerpiece like that, it happens. Sometimes you gotta fix something, and maybe it takes a game like this to really, really make a real big change. But they're going to do it. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this longer, and they know more than every single person on this chat and me, Moses. So, and if they know what they need to do to get done, and we'll see if they execute. But at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's the goal. We got to delay the rushes as much as possible.
And they want to win more than we do.
Exactly.
Regardless if y'all believe that or not. Because that again, we're emotional, we're fans, we're salty, we're angry. But this notion that these guys don't want to keep their job or achieve their goals is not logical. Thanks for the $2. Ohio 7715, Fire Fry, 24-25-90 lock. OH, go Buckeyes. All right, let me get into Mike Green. What's up, Mike? Appreciate you as always, bro. I've got muted for being pissed off at Ryan Day, bro. Our Buckeyes is missing something and short of something, and I'm about tired, bro. And then the other super chat. Thanks for the $4.99. Partner with that $1.99. Y'all my guys, but coaching continue to disappoint. So just real quick, Mike. So when you say y'all my guys, but that kind of implies that we're condoning bad coaching or coaching that's not to our standard. I hope that's not how it's coming across, because we've clearly said throughout this podcast that we have to coach better. Chip Kelly didn't have his best day with play calling. I said that several times. So I'm with you on that. As far as Ryan Day goes, how much influence or how much is his hand in the play calling right now? To my knowledge, he's letting Chip cook. So sure, can he get on the headset and override stuff? Sure, maybe. But when I'm thinking about play calling this year, I'm thinking about Chip Kelly on offense. So that's just how I see it. The coaching staff as a whole, which starts with Ryan Day, has to have this team more prepared, period. I don't think they thought Mikowski was going to play that bad. Now, here's the thing. Someone say, why not pull him? I put my mindset into a coach a lot, okay? I'm not some college coach. I've coached on little levels, kids and youth and stuff like that. But what I try to do is put my mindset into the mindset of a coach. And what Ryan Day said in the press conference, which I understand the issue, is do you pull him after a couple of times of getting beat and kill his confidence, or try to get him to work through it? And what he said is he has some things he had to work through. I get it. I understand it. You know, you want him out. You want it fixed now. But obviously we got depth issues, et cetera, et cetera. I understand the conflict as a coach. So with that said, he's not playing next week, most likely. So now we need to figure out who the next best five is and get them out there and get them playing. Do I think we're going to come out playing like we did against Nebraska at Penn State, another big game this year on the road? No, I don't. I think we're going to be we're going to play better. We're going to coach better. But it's up to them to do it. I can't promise anything, but that's just what I think. You have a right to be frustrated with the coaches, Mike. I completely understand it. I'm frustrated too. However, only so much complaining and whining from us is I mean, what is it going to do? It's not going to do anything. We can't do anything but wait and hope and trust that they are going to do what they need to do, period. So you feel me? It's just like, there's only so much we can do. I think that's it for the super chats. I appreciate y'all. Go ahead, Funk.
The frustration with the coaching is like, no matter, okay, this is one thing I realized being a fan of every sports team, or like we're not every, sports teams for a while. No matter who the offensive line coach is, they're going to get crapped on. I've never had an offensive line coach at Ohio State not get crapped on in my lifetime of being an Ohio State fan. I've never had a defensive coordinator in my lifetime not get crapped on, and I've never had an offensive coordinator in my lifetime not get crapped on constantly. It's just what's going to happen. No one's ever going to be happy with the offensive line coach. But with Justin Fry, you can say all you want about recruiting and stuff, but at the end of the day, recruiting to me is more than just a positional coach recruiting. That's a head coaching job. That's an offensive job when it comes to these national kids from those 5 stars from all over the place. But all I can really see is Josh Simmons. He was not very good once he got to Ohio State. He wasn't. He didn't play good. Our fans hated him. Remember before the season, B. Moses? And all we had to say is how like our O-line's not trash and we need people to relax and we have some really good promising things. And they're like, no, this is why our team's gonna lose. And all of a sudden our offensive line was the best offensive line in the country before, again, the Justin Fry product, Josh Simmons, first round pick would have been a first round pick, won't be anymore, obviously, because of the injury. Would have been a first round pick, probably the first offensive tackle taken off the board this year's draft, got injured, and a lot of stuff changes. But we got to give credit to Justin Fry and the whole offense for our offensive line production before this injury, and we just got to believe in them and saying that they're going to make a change because they did it before, they can do it again. So let's see what happens, and I have faith that they're going to make improvements. And if once Ohio State goes into Penn State and wins, I don't want to hear people saying anything. They're gonna win. All the money's going to be on Penn State. Vegas is going to be on our side. We're going to win. This is just a game we're going to win. So, and maybe I'm horribly wrong, but I really, really, really do think we're going to win this game, and we're going to go back on your Sunday. And I don't want to hear anyone on the chat complaining. And I don't even want them to be even happy. I want them to still be crapping on us, saying we're the underdogs and all that stuff. Because if we win that game, B. Moses, we're jumping the number 2 in the rankings. So we'll be right back on top like we belong. So, but we just want to keep that same energy for the whole season. Let's not switch up. Let's not switch up as fans and be all nicey nice after we get a win. So,
yeah, and if we do win, and I do expect to win, because I feel like we're better than them and we can play better than we did in Nebraska. I don't think the Nebraska game is this is the problem. We go from week to week as college football fans, and I say we as collectively, we overreact. We may blow a team out and then assume we're going to do that the rest of the way. We may struggle against a bad team or a lesser team, and we assume we're going to get beat the next week. That's just how we think as fans, and it doesn't line up like that. History is against that notion. So I'm not looking at just the Nebraska game. I'm looking at the team as a whole and everything that we have and what we've seen from the team compared to Penn State right now. Listen, all I care about right now is beating Penn State. Do y'all hear me? I don't care about scum. I don't care about the Indiana Hoosiers on the rise. I don't care about the playoffs right now. I don't care about none of that. Beat Penn State by 1 point. I don't care. Do you understand? Like, that's, as a fan, that's where I'm focused at, because yes, if we do beat them, some fans will circle back, but other fans will try to say, well, you always beat Penn State. Who cares? It's just Penn State. That's what they're going to do. But honestly, I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about us going to number 2 in the polls. I don't care. Beat Penn State. And then after that, worry about Purdue and Northwestern or whoever else. That's it. So real quick, I just want to remind y'all, as we said earlier, I'm not going to share my screen. I ain't got time because we only got a couple minutes. Like the Penn State fans said, Penn State, the number 3 team in the country, who we're concerned about, and rightly so, because it's a game at their place. They barely beat Bowling Green 34-27. They've struggled in other games against teams they should have blown out. Penn State hasn't looked like a juggernaut this year. Okay, let's just be honest. The mighty Miami Hurricanes have been squeaking by, in my opinion, with the help of the referees for the ACC. They should probably have 2 or 3 losses by now. They're a top 5 team right now. All right. They're not without flaws. Texas is not without flaws. Georgia barely beat Kentucky, a bad Kentucky team, 13-12. Okay. Kentucky's not good. They got 5 losses already. I don't want to hear this. Like, I'm saying this to say that I know we're kind of myopic. We're all just strictly focused on our Buckeyes, and I get it. Like, we care about our Buckeyes more than any other team. But you have to take consideration for the landscape we're in right now this year. When you're talking about projecting and what we can do, and this season is over and we're trash, we can't do anything. You got to look at your peers. And looking at the rest of the country, there's no team that's not flawed. That's my point. So it's like we're just off in this island and we're just so terrible. And there's no way we can overcome our issues next week. That's just not the case. So me thinking and believing that we can beat a Penn State team who's just been that we have more talent than this year is not me being some sunshine pumping, skittle pumping, nothing's wrong analyst. All the reasons I gave you is the reason why I feel like we can win this game. The coaches have to coach. They have to have a good week of practice, have a good game plan, do what needs to be done to cover up the issues, and hopefully we can get it done. Period. I haven't given up on the season, man. We've seen too many seasons. Go back to the 2014 season, y'all. We gave up a ton of yards and a ton of points to bad teams. We gave up 28 to Cincinnati, and Minnesota barely beat Minnesota by a touchdown, who was trash that year. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, try to have some perspective. I get the frustration. I get you pissed off. You're salty. You're sad. We suck. Fire everybody. I get it. But take 2 seconds and just look at the other side of it to gain some balance and perspective. That's all I'm saying. We get blown out by Penn State, then it's another discussion. But as for now, we got one loss to the number 1 team in the country on the road, and we getting ready for Penn State. Period. Beat Penn State. That's all I care about.
Amen to that, B. Moses. You said everything. Beat Penn State. That's all we're focused on. That's all we can do at this point. Focus on Penn State. Let's beat Penn State, and we'll talk about it. I guess we're going to do that. The closer. That's fine with me, B. Moses. We end it off. Let's beat Penn State. Let's subscribe to Buckeye Scoop. Let's like the video. The chat was awesome today. It was great being here. We'll be here next week, same Sunday. Victory Sunday, B. Moses. I'll be ready. We're gonna beat Penn State. It's just gonna happen. We beat Penn State. We own Penn State. Drew Adler's injured offensive line. Beat Penn State. Don't care how. Don't care when. We're gonna beat Penn State. Yep.
Yeah, man. That's all I got to say for now. I could go another hour, and I wish I could. Love you, Kirk, Nevada. I love y'all. Go ahead and jump on and do y'all's thing. I wish I could keep going because I'm fired up, and I don't know. Listen. 30 more seconds. Yes, I didn't play in the pros. I didn't play, college ball. I probably should have. I was a goofy and I just messed up. Anyway, the point is, in sports, I was always highly competitive. I played football and basketball, and I was always competitive. My mindset is, I'm not going to yield. When we still have an opportunity to play, and I understand there's certain things in place that may seem daunting, but in my opinion, we have way more positive than the negative. Even with the glaring negatives we need to address, there's still way more positive for some of our fans to just completely act like we have no chance and no shot. That's all I'm saying. Maybe it's just a competitor in me mixed with looking at the facts and the logic of it all and the perspective. But I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to see this game next Saturday, and I'm hoping our guys can step up and get the W. Period. And we out.
Go Bucks, baby. Let's beat Penn State. Let's go.
Peace.
Peace.